substance and the content, and then make an informed decision having heard it. Well, let's begin. I'll ask Dr. Craig to begin his side of the argument. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening. I want to begin by saying how delighted I am to have the opportunity to be in this country and to participate in tonight's debate. This is my first visit to Australia, and I have just been overwhelmed by the beauty of this city. I have never spoken in a grander and more august venue than this, and I hope that you'll find tonight's debate to be both stimulating and personally helpful. Now, in tonight's debate, I think we need to ask ourselves two questions. First, what good evidence is there that God exists? And secondly, what good evidence is there that God does not exist? Now, with respect to that second question, I'll leave it up to Dr. Slezak to present the reasons why he thinks that God does not exist. Atheists have tried for centuries to disprove the existence of God, but no one's come up with a successful argument. So rather than attack straw men at this point, I'll just wait to hear Dr. Slezak's answer to the following question. What good evidence is there that atheism is true? So let's look instead then at that first question. What good evidence is there that God exists? Tonight, I'm going to present 5 pieces of evidence in support of God's existence. Now, whole books have been written on each one of these, so all I can present here is a brief sketch of each argument and then go into more detail as Dr. Slezak responds to each of them. So, number 1, the origin of the universe. Have you ever asked yourself where the universe came from? Why everything exists instead of just nothing? Typically, atheists have said that the universe is just eternal and uncaused. But discoveries in modern astronomy and astrophysics have called this assumption into question. The astrophysical evidence indicates that the universe began to exist in a great explosion called the Big Bang about 15 billion years ago. Moreover, the origin it posits is an absolute origin out of nothing. For not only all matter and energy, but physical space and time themselves came into being at the initial cosmological singularity, which marks the boundary of space and time. As Professor Slezak himself has recently acknowledged, the beginning of the universe out of nothing follows as a direct consequence of Einstein's equation. Today, there is no plausible alternative, end quote. Now, this tends to be very awkward for the atheist, for as Anthony Kenny of Oxford University urges, a proponent of the Big Bang theory, at least if he is an atheist, must believe that the universe came from nothing and by nothing. But surely that doesn't make sense. For such a conclusion is, in the words of philosopher of science Bernhard Kanischeider, in head-on collision with the most successful ontological commitment in the history of science, namely the metaphysical principle that out of nothing, nothing comes. So why does the universe exist instead of just nothing? Where did it come from? There must have been a cause which brought the universe into being. We can summarize our argument thus far as follows. Premise 1, whatever begins to exist has a cause. 2, the universe began to exist. 3, therefore, the universe has a cause. Now, from the very nature of the case as the cause of space and time, this cause must be an uncaused, changeless, timeless, and immaterial being of unimaginable power which created the universe. Moreover, I would argue, it must also be personal. For how else could a timeless cause give rise to a temporal effect like the universe? If the cause were an impersonal set of necessary and sufficient conditions, then the cause could never exist without the effect. If the cause were timelessly present, then its effect would be timelessly present as well. The only way for the cause to be timeless and for the effect to begin to exist in time is for the cause to be a personal agent who freely chooses to create an effect in time without any prior determining conditions. And thus we are brought not merely to a transcendent cause of the universe, but to its personal creator. Isn't it incredible that the Big Bang Theory thus confirms what the Christian theist has always believed, that in the beginning God created the universe? Now I simply put it to you, which do you think is more plausible, that the theist is right, or that the universe just popped into being uncaused out of absolutely nothing? I at least have no trouble assessing these alternatives. Number two, the complex order of the universe. During the last 30 years, scientists have discovered that the existence of intelligent life depends upon a complex and delicate balance of initial conditions given in the Big Bang itself. The existence of intelligent life depends upon a conspiracy of initial conditions which must be fine-tuned to a degree that is literally incomprehensible and incalculable. For example, Stephen Hawking has estimated that if the rate of the universe's expansion 1 second after the Big Bang had been smaller by even 1 part in 100,000 million, the universe would have recollapsed into a hot fireball. P.C.W. Davies has calculated that in order to be suitable for later star formation, without which planets couldn't exist, the relevant initial conditions must be fine-tuned to a precision of 1 followed by 1,000 billion zeros at least. He also estimates that a change in the strength of gravity or of the weak force by only 1 part in 10 to the 100th power would have prevented a life-permitting universe. Now, there are 3 alternatives for explaining this remarkable fine-tuning of the universe: natural law, chance, or design. The first alternative holds that the fine-tuning of the universe is physically necessary. But this alternative flies in the face of physics. As Davies explains, there is nothing in present ideas about laws of initial conditions remotely to suggest that their consistency with the laws of physics would imply uniqueness. Far from it. It seems then that the physical universe does not have to be the way it is. It could have been otherwise. And thus the first alternative, natural law, is not very plausible. Well, what about the second alternative, that the fine-tuning is due to chance? The problem with this alternative is that the odds against the fine-tunings occurring by accident are so incomprehensibly great that they cannot be reasonably faced. When you compare the range of possible values which the fundamental quantities permitted by the laws of nature could have taken with the range of life-permitting values, you find that the range of life-permitting values is incomprehensibly small in comparison with the wider range of assumable values. The probability that all the quantities would fall by chance alone into the life-permitting range is vanishingly small. We now know